Hello, welcome. This is our beginning genealogy research video about finding records. So very beginning, you haven't ever tried doing genealogies. This is kind of to get that beginner started. So I have downloaded RootsMagic to my computer. Let me just show you. If you were to go to the internet and type in rootsmagic.com, you would have the opportunity to download RootsMagic Essentials for free, which is probably a great option for any new beginner. Or if you wanted to go right to the regular RootsMagic, you can buy that for $29.95. It was the best $30 I've ever spent. So you can do the free version, or which is RootsMagic Essentials, or the full paid version for $29.95. And it puts it on your computer desktop, and it's RootsMagic 7 is the most recent. I have 6 there. And you would begin creating your own database on your computer. And the reason I like to do this is because if you were to create and keep your family history on, say, FamilySearch.org, you do risk other people coming in and changing your things, because their method is to have one tree and for everybody to collaborate. And while that is very nice, the risk is that others could change your stuff and that you're constantly having to make edits. So I keep a tree on FamilySearch, but I like to keep my tree here on RootsMagic as well, so that I know that anything I do, whether my notes, my documents, my pictures, sources, everything is kept here and nobody else is touching it. Okay. So family history is, the idea is to collect names, dates, and places. And you find these names, dates, and places by using birth records, marriage records, death records, censuses, wills, land records. The list would go on and on and on. And you can find a lot of these records for free on FamilySearch.org. You can also find them on Ancestry.com and MyHeritage and so forth. So really quick, let me show you what I'm kind of talking about. Over here, I'm going to go to FamilySearch.org. And here at FamilySearch.org, which is free and open to the public, you would sign in or create your free account. It really is free. No worries about spam and lots of emails or anything to your account. They're just keeping record of what you're looking at. So I'm going to log in, because once you log in, you also have access to your family tree over here, family tree. Now, when you begin your family tree, if you are a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or we call ourselves LDS, generally speaking, your family tree or pedigree is populated somewhat for you. For instance, your spouse would probably appear, your children would appear, and their dates of birth, and also possibly your parents. Your spouse and his entire line will not appear automatically due to privacy reasons. So you would need to add that yourself. Now, generally speaking, any person who is living needs to be added. For example, my in-laws here are still both living, so I needed to add them. However, anybody who is dead needs to be found. And what that means is they're probably already in the system, just need to find them. Okay, now coming back over here, we're going to do a pretend family. So I'm going to pretend that my grandfather's name is Dale Denman. And I know Dale was born in about 1935 in Miami County, Ohio. And I also know that his father's name was Owen and his mother's name was Susan. Now, I don't know what Susan's maiden name was. I don't know when Owen and Susan were born. None of these things. All I know is about my grandfather, Dale. He was born about 1935 and it was in Miami County, Ohio. So this is kind of where you would start if you were very new to genealogy. You'd write down what you do know or what you think you know. And then you would use FamilySearch.org to find the records to prove relationships and dates, places. Okay, so let's begin by searching the records for the person I first know, Dale. So I'm going to type in here, Dale Denman. I typically choose this any instead of these, typically, because I want to do a very broad search. So any, and you're going to begin, even though I know that Dale was born in Piqua, that's the city, I'm going to just begin with the county. I very rarely, if ever, choose a city or a village or a township where I know an event took place, because I want to keep this as broad as possible, not going too broad. So I'm just going to type in Miami, Ohio. Notice I did not type in Miami County. County was not necessary. Do not put any years in. I never have. I don't like that filter. And in this case, I know that his parents' names were Owen and Susan. If you don't know the mother's and father's name, that's okay. And then I'm going to click search. Okay, here is the very first record, Dale Denman in the United States Census of 1940. Born about 1935, parents Owen and Susan. I'm going to click on it. Okay, and you're going to notice right off the bat that there's lots of information here to the left. This is called an abstract, or what is happening when an index is made. This is great information, but sometimes it can be misleading because it was abstracted or transcribed incorrectly. So we have the option to see the original image of the census over here. So let's click that. And we're taken, shrink this down, to the original 1940 census for Piqua. If I scroll in on this 1940 census, which is the most recent census that we can get a hold of right now, we can see that heads of household are usually at the top, and then children listed below. We have their male or female category, their race, their age, whether or not they're married or single. Further over in the 1940 census, it lists where they were born, where they were living in 1935, which in this case, same house, same house, same house. That's what it's indicating. So that's a nice little feature. And also in the 1940 census, it gives us the street name, which is kind of nice. So let's scroll down here and see if we can see our Denman family. Looks like they're on Brook Street. There is Owen, Susan, Dale, and Aunt Rosalie. Okay, let's take a look at Owen. Owen is 27 years old in 1940. So if we were to do our little math equation there, and I'm doing that right quick, we would find that Owen was born about 1913. So before we go any further, I'm going to jump over here to my RootsMagic, click on Owen, and add a fact. Even though I don't have an exact birth date yet, I'm going to put in about 1913. And back to that census, I want to double check. Yep, He was born in Ohio. I'm going to write that down. Ohio. And now they're asking us to actually put in the country. Ohio, United States. Okay? Now, we need to say where we got this. In the sources, let me show you that again real quick. Down here, sources, this birth, we want to add a new source. Now, there's lots of ways to source things, and there's a professional way, and then there's a not so professional way. I'm going to give you just a very basic format. Click on free form, and I'm going to type in 1940 U.S. Federal Census in the master source section. Then in the details, I'm going to choose Miami, Ohio, and that I found it on FamilySearch.org. That's all I'm going to put at this time. There's a lot more information that you could put. This is not an accurate source citation. It's just for a very new beginner. This is some place to start that's easy. Okay, so that's what we're going to save. And it's going to ask me what I want to name this master source. And you're going to name it whatever you did there at the beginning, which is 1940 U.S. Federal Census. We'll talk a little bit more about that in here in a minute, okay? And now there's a check mark here indicating that you have found Owen's birth date of about 1913 in Ohio by 1940 U.S. Federal Census. Great. Okay, let's go back to the census and see what other information is there. Okay, here's Susan. Susan, we don't know her maiden name, so we're not going to record her as Susan Denman. We're going to record her just as Susan until we find out what her maiden name was, because we don't record females by anything but their maiden names. And so we do a calculated birth. Let's see here, she's 23 in 1940, so she was born about 1917. So we click on Susan. We click Add a Fact. Start typing the word birth, and birth will pop right up. Again, we're going to put in here about 1917. Her location also was Ohio. And the source, now watch, we already put in 1940 census. So this time we'll pick Cite Existing Source. And it says, do you want to choose the 1940 U.S. Federal Census? Yes, I do. And in the details, I would choose to write, this was for Piqua, Miami, Ohio Census at FamilySearch.org. We could go on further and add children, including Rosalie, but because of time, we're not going to do that. All right, now I have Owen Denman, born about 1913 in Ohio. At this point, as I've gone one generation, I want to fill in at FamilySearch.org my family tree. So let's bring up FamilySearch.org. And I'm already signed in, which you will need to do. And we're going to click on Family Tree and then choose Tree. Now, because Dale is not really my grandfather, that's just a fake name I'm using, I'm going to find him. I hope he's in here. I'm going to search for Owen because I don't know if Dale would be in there, right? I'm going to give it as much information as possible. See if I can find Owen. Owen DeWitt Denman. That's him. Oh, look, there's already a person in there. Let's take a look. So in the case of Owen, if he was my grandfather's father, I would find that, oh, look, somebody has already added him in here with all sorts of information, including his parents, and Dale is in there, wonderful, and all these siblings, and even some pictures of the family. And so that is really great. Even here we go, Susan Dolores Brumbaugh. So Brumbaugh, whichever one you want to say. And so this is fantastic. It's great that this information has already been found. So sometimes you need to, instead of in there for the first time, I can verify information. So let's jump up here and check this birth location. Notice that they have a birth location of Shelby County, Ohio. And notice that there's 2 commas there. That's not the way it's supposed to be written. So let's clean that up. And you know what? I don't know where he was really born. So I want to double check and see why they think it was Shelby, Richland County, Ohio. I'm guessing they meant Shelby County, Ohio, which is just north of Miami County. So before we do that, let's pop over here to FamilySearch.org, again, opening a new tab, and search, this time, for a record. Might tell us exactly when Owen was born and where. Owen Denman. And this time, we'll choose birthplace because we're looking for a birth record. And I'm guessing that it was Shelby County, Ohio, not Richland County. And I'm going to put in 1912 to 1914 because just in case that 1913 date was incorrect. Okay, we have Owen in the 1940 census, which we've already seen. Here's Owen in 1920, it looks like. Let's take a look. Spring Creek is right outside of Piqua. It's the unincorporated portion of Piqua, so that makes sense that he would be right nearby. And let's take a look at this and just see what it has to offer. The 1920 census is going to ask a little bit different questions than the 1940 census, so that's something that you want to know. Scroll in and take a look for our Denman family. Here they are. There's 2 of them. Here's a Denman and his wife Catherine, Walter, Edna, and Clarence. And then right next door, Alva Denman, and Theo, Catherine, and Owen. If we go to the next page, we would find last child by clicking here on next. I'm not going to worry about that right now though. And I find that it's like Alva and all the family were born in Ohio. Alva's, this is the father, where the father was born, listed here, and where the mother was born, listed here. Okay, so let's go, I'm going to go ahead and cancel this out. That is him. It does not necessarily answer the question of when Owen was born exactly, but here is a death index. Let's take a look at it. Death index is just information found or abstracted from the original document. So it may not have everything that would have been on the Ohio death record. And that's likely all we'll find for Owen because he died in 1982, and those are held at the Ohio Department of Health, and you have to order them. So I don't see an exact birth date. They only gave me the 1913 part. Let's go back again. And I wonder, if I were to scroll down here, if by chance we could find, this is a little trick, if there's any Denman with the parents' names of Alva and Theo, but there's no first name. Sometimes we can find a birth record for a little boy Denman or male Denman, so that there might not be a first name. So I'm just checking for that, and I don't see one. We're going to move along. Could exhaust this, and that would take a while, but for this video purpose, we're going to go back. I'm going to go all the way back to my tree here. And because I'm not 100% sure where Owen was born, because I didn't find anything, I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel and leave it as is until I find something that can say exactly when and where he was born. In the meantime, let's scroll down, and I see that no marriage date for Susan and Owen exists. Let's open another tab, go to records again. We're going to clear out everything and look for a marriage record for Owen and Susan. Now I'm going to assume typically is where they have been living. Spouse said Susan, and everybody's saying it's Brumbaugh. So let's go ahead and just put it in there and see what pops. There we go. Let's see here. Well, this is Dale's marriage certificate and Rosalie's marriage certificate, both of which give Susan's maiden name is Brumbaugh. And in this case, for Rosalie's marriage record, it gave the middle name as Dolores. Okay, so it's probably safe to say that her maiden name really was Brumbaugh. Let's, though, take a look under. If we take off Miami, just put in Ohio, would it pick up if they were actually married outside of Miami County, I wonder? It's still only picked up. Try one more thing. Just in case Susan was not married as a Brumbaugh, there's always that chance that there's some weird misspelling of a name. Let's go back further. Take out Owen. And look for anybody with the last, actually, you know what? Denman was probably something that they would have spelled wrong. Let's try if any Owen and any Susan ever married in the state of Ohio. Fields, or we're just looking through here to see if any of those names kind of stick out. Do we see anything that might have been Denman or something similar? I didn't see anything. So one last thing, we're going to take away Owen, to Denman, tab down till we get to Susan, and choose Brumbaugh. Did any Denman and Brumbaugh marry? Still, it gave us all of these. Now, here's something kind of interesting about Ohio marriage records. When all else fails, you should do a search for Kentucky, because in Kentucky they didn't have to wait to get married because of their marriage license. So this time we're going to choose Owen Denman. Married, we're going to do United States with a spouse named Susan Brumbaugh. Again, they just pulled that up. I'm going to take away first names. I'm going to put in Kentucky. And I still didn't find anything. Okay, so when you've exhausted several options, actually there's several more, but let's pretend that we're at our wits' end. We don't know. We've checked everything. We're going to go to a whole new location. We're going to go to Ancestry.com. Now, some of you are thinking, yes, but I don't have a free account to Ancestry.com and it costs $158 a year and there's no way I can afford it. All right. If you are LDS, you have the option of getting a free Ancestry.com account. So let me show you how to do that. You would open a new tab and go to FamilySearch Partners. Choose the partner access here. And it's going to scroll down, tell you that you can have a free account to Ancestry, Find My Past, My Heritage, and American Ancestors. And yes, you can open an account to each one of them if you want. So you just click on Join for Free and follow the prompts, and then you are in Ancestry.com. Looks like this. We're going to come over here to Search, All Collections. And here at the beginning, I'm going to begin with Owen Denman. He only lived in Miami County so far that we've found, so I wrote in Miami, Ohio, and then I need to choose County, Ohio. He was born about 1913. You can mark exact, I never do, or you can even change this to a year span. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as 1913. Scroll down just slightly. Add spouse, Susan. Let's leave Brumbaugh off this time. Scroll down. Make sure all of these are check marked. And click search. Now, a couple of really neat things about Ancestry. Some people have already created family trees that you can look at. It may give you a hint or be helpful. So we don't want to look over that. But at the beginning, there are matching records. Ah, look at this. Here is an obituary for Owen. And wouldn't you know, they gave the birth date as 7 April 1913, which is what we wanted. Let's look at it and see if we can see the entire record. We could order a copy from the library. But look right here. There's a marriage date, 2 September 1933. Let's record that. Come back over here to RootsMagic first. I always do it in this order. That way, it's always the same. So I click on Owen, and I add the fact of marriage. I try to add my marriage fact under the man's name. It says, would you like to add this marriage fact to Susan? I say yes. And the date of their marriage, let's double check that again, was 2 September 1933. They have not given me a place, but in the sources, I'm going to need to add a new source. And this time, freeform, I'm going to say that this was an obituary. Just that. And this obituary was found at Ancestry.com. And it was, let's make sure the name was actually Owen. Okay, it was Owen D. Denman. Okay, so very, very basic, but that will help me. Obituary. And so that tells me where I got that marriage date. So if anybody ever says, well, how do you know they were married in 1933? I would look over here and say, oh, it said so in his obituary. Now, I'm going to come back over to Family Search, where Owen and Susan are here and no event has been added. And I'm going to click this little button. And I'm going to add the event. They're going to ask me the date again. And I need to look because I've already forgotten. 2 September. I don't know the place. Excuse me. But I'm going to write here, found date in Owen's obituary. I'm just going to put in a little extra information there in case somebody wants that. Once I've clicked that, then I just click close. Or else, and if I scroll back up, you'll see there's their marriage, 2 September 1933. Now, just because I can't stand it and I have to know, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to look for Susan Brumbaugh, any Susan Brumbaugh, who was married in the United States in 19... So I looked under everything I could think of for Owen and a spouse. Now I'm just going to do Susan. And see if anything by chance pops up for this, because I'd really like to know. There's Dale's, there's Rosalie's. Nope, nothing popped up. But, you know, sometimes that happens. A marriage record is not available. Maybe the marriage record has been destroyed. Maybe it was so indexed so improperly that the OCR and the index won't pick it up. So that's okay, because this record of his obituary can stand in place of a marriage record date until we find something else. Let's go back because there's so many. This is the United States Social Security Death Index, which gives us his Social Security number as well as his birth date. And what's kind of interesting about this is sometimes there's a Social Security Death Index application. I'm sorry, it's Social Security application and claims application. And sometimes you can get a lot more information off that. So that's kind of nice to have. We've got this record here, which we've already seen on Family Search. Let's scroll down. Here's a picture of Owen. Oops. And I wanted to show you just a couple other things. Up here, where this family tree is, and it says see more like this, take a look at this. These are family trees that other people have created about Owen. Now, you have to take these things with a grain of salt and be very careful, but it looks like some of them include several photographs. Let's take a look at this Markley family tree. They've attached 9 records, 10 sources. That's okay. And this is their little facts sheet. Tells me that he was born in Houston, Shelby County, Ohio. Now we would want to make sure, well, where did they get that information? And I don't see a birth laid on there, but if you hit view, it points to the things where they think this represents where he was, where the birth information and birthplace came from. I'm guessing they may have said so. I would want to find a copy of that obituary. Looks like there's quite a little information there. If we click here on gallery, you can see all the pictures and documents for, click here. Looks like we have a great picture of Owen, possibly on his birthday, it seems. And I'll bet that's Dale and that's Rosalie. What do you want to bet? So this would be a nice photograph to have for your collection if you didn't. And you could save that to your tree here on Ancestry.com. You could also, let me hit back. I think used to be a way, let me check it again, down at the bottom. You could save a copy to your computer, perhaps in Tools. Download to your desktop. So you could download this picture and add it to your tree. Make sure you give photo credit to the person who originally linked and originally shared this, which was Horatio. And you might even contact Horatio and ask him, which you can do by just clicking on his name, asking him who has possession of this and verifying the people in the picture are accurate. I hope this was helpful to at least get you started on doing your genealogy using FamilySearch.org for free records and Ancestry.com if you're LDS or have your own subscription. And this is essentially what you do. You just go one by one and add and edit and so forth. Now, real quick, I noticed that Rosalie's not here, so I'm going to go ahead and add her. Add the child. Really, we're going to look for Rosalie. She's female. And Rosalie was born about 1940. And she was probably born in Miami County, Ohio. So I'm going to choose that. I don't know if she's living and I don't know if she's dead. But I'm going to assume that she's dead. She's probably not. Hopefully she doesn't see this video and say, hey, they said I was dead. Okay. I don't see her on here. And if you don't see her in the possible matches found, then you're going to click Create New. We go up here. Rosalie is there. Now I'm going to change that deceased because I have no idea if she's actually deceased or not. Here. And edit this. And mark her as living until I find out otherwise. And I do that for privacy. I don't want people to see Rosalie's dead if she's not. And again, this is my fake family that I'm working on. So that's why I'm going to do that. So we're going to go over here back to Owen. Here, see his person. And then you'll see that Rosalie now appears with her sibling Dale and her mom Susan and her father Owen. And there you have it. This was helpful.